everyone, and welcome. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Michael Hudson, coming to you from Everett, Washington. Tonight, we have updates from several of our correspondents from North America. First and foremost, we start with Thomas Likeness in Edmonton, Alberta.
Why are COVID-19 numbers going up in Canada and the United States?
Jim Sewell in Pensacola, Florida will also be reporting about Florida's panhandle bracing for Hurricane Sally. We also have Lovely Anderson in Fort Worth, Texas.
The state of Texas sends emergency crews to fight wildfires in California and help hurricane victims in Louisiana.
Angel Quizon in Las Vegas reports about Clark County School District clarifying why over 25,000 students are placed under roll call. Annabelle de Mesa in Glendale, California joins us tonight.
Los Angeles funds UCLA Health Mobile Stroke Unit with additional $1.4 million.
And Angel Membrere in Sacramento reports about the California fires continuing to spread, leading to more destruction and fatalities. But first, an overview of how COVID-19 looks now. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, as of 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, September 15th, 2020, the numbers of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 29,300,000. Top three on the list of countries with recorded cases: the USA with 6.5 million, India at 4.9 million, Brazil at 4.3 million. Sadly, this virus has already taken more than 930,000 lives. Top three countries with the most number of COVID-19 related deaths are the United States, more than 195,000, Brazil, more than 132,000, and India, more than 80,000. Our coverage begins now. In the joint press conference between the WHO, UNESCO, and UNICEF held in Geneva, WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus declares that closing schools during the COVID-19 pandemic must be a last resort.
UNESCO, UNICEF, and WHO yesterday published updated guidance on school-related public health measures in the context of COVID-19. The guidance provides practical advice for schools in areas with no cases, sporadic cases, clusters of cases, or community transmission. Given the devastating consequences on children, youth, and our societies as a whole, the decision to close schools should be a last resort.
Andre Azoulay, the Director General of UNESCO, adds as long as schools are closed, the consequences are more severe for underserved children.
The latest data that UNESCO has just produced tell us that today, half of the global student population is not yet back in schools. The longer schools remain closed, the more damaging the consequences, especially for children from more disadvantaged backgrounds who, in addition to learning, rely on school for health, for safety, and sometimes for nutrition. And we also know that when we deal with education, the decision that we make today will impact tomorrow's world. And it's also why this specific crisis is also a moment to rethink the futures of education, a worldwide reflection that we have launched and that will materialize in a final report in 2021.
UNICEF's Executive Director, Henrietta Fore, says remote learning did not exist for more than 400 million children when COVID-19 forced schools to close. And this was because of lack of access to technology.
UNICEF data shows that for at least 463 million children whose schools closed during COVID-19, there was no such thing as remote learning. So why? Because at least 1/3 of the world's school children were unable to access remote learning when COVID-19 shuttered their schools, including because of lack of internet access, computers, or mobile devices.
Here in the U.S., Storms rock Mississippi and beaches start to flood as Hurricane Sally approaches the U.S. Gulf Coast with winds of around 85 miles per hour, threatening deadly flash flooding in Mississippi and Alabama. Hurricane Sally threatens deadly flash flooding in Alabama and Mississippi even as it weakened to a Category 1 storm. The National Hurricane Center warned historic flooding is possible from Sally, with extreme life-threatening flash flooding likely through Wednesday. At 1500 GMT, Sally was 110 miles southeast of Mobile, Alabama, and heading in a northwesterly direction at 2 miles per hour. According to meteorologists, Sally is one of the 5 tropical cyclones in the Atlantic Ocean, a phenomenon only recorded once before in September 1971. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey warned state residents that even though the storm had weakened, Hurricane Sally is not to be taken for granted. To hold a press conference, the state is looking at record flooding, perhaps breaking historical levels, and with rising water comes a greater risk for loss of property and life. Ivey urged residents in the strongest way possible to evacuate if conditions permit and seek shelter elsewhere as possible today. National Weather Service meteorologist John DeBlock said that Sally could bring upwards of 8 to 10 inches of rainfall. Ivey had declared a state of emergency Monday ahead of Sally's arrival. Meanwhile, from flooding, let's talk about the wildfires this time on the West Coast. Tree farmer Lee Samuelson property lost 200 acres after the passage of the Beachy Creek fire in northern Oregon. Some farmers, like Carrie Fournier, blame it on poor forest management. Take a look.
I don't know about the climate part. I mean, there could be something to that, maybe long term, but our weather here is so cyclical. We'll have record rains for the winter, and we'll have mild summers. We just happen to be unlucky, I think, with the weather this time.
I think a lot of this has to do with forestry management, with this fire starting up on the Brighton Bush and above Detroit, and the quickness it moved just proves that without proper forestry management within the national forest and the state forest, this is going to happen again.
When we come back, updates from our Eagle News correspondents in Edmonton, Alberta and Pensacola, Florida. This is Eagle News. Stay with us.
Hello there, I'm Alfred, and I'm a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, batch of 2008 in New Era University. I'm currently working as an operations analyst in Autodesk.
Hi, I'm Earl Escanio, and I graduated with Bachelor of Science major in Computer Science in 2010. I am a consultant at Trinity Consulting, LLC.
Hi, I'm Ivy Nakapagal, Bachelor's of Computer Science graduate, year 2010. I'm currently working as a cybersecurity analyst in one of the largest telco here in New Zealand, Coast Park, NZ.
I'm Jofran David Riego, a BS Computer Science graduate here in 2015. As a legal analyst, I am tasked to read U.S. cases, specifically civil torts cases.
I am Melanie Rico Hermosa P., a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science graduate, year 2006.
I'm currently a software quality assurance engineer at FBI Systems here in Maryland, United States.
Hi, I'm Renzo Cruz. I'm a graduate of BS Computer Science, year 2012. I'm currently working abroad, and I'm working as a senior cybersecurity consultant who specializes in digital forensics and incident response. And I am part of a national security in one of the countries here in the Middle East.
I am inviting everyone to study at New Era University to legit true grit.
Be brilliant in the new era.
Study now at New Era University.
Excellence,
Discipline,
Service to humanity.
everybody. Welcome back to Eagle News America. I'm Michael Hudson reporting from Everett, Washington. Why are COVID-19 numbers going up in Canada and the U.S.? In Edmonton, Bureau Chief Thomas Likeness joins us tonight with the answers.
Thanks, Michael. And that's a good question. Why are the numbers going up? For the answer, we'll turn to a public opinion poll done by Leger for the Association for Canadian Studies. Now, as background, Leger surveyed more than 1,500 Canadians and 1,000 Americans for this poll, and the survey was done between September 11th and 13th, just this past weekend, so the results haven't aged at all. They're not even a week old. They're recent. So back to our original question. Why are there a growing number of COVID-19 cases? I mean, the borders are closed and everything, but they're still going up. The poll tells us that 57% of Canadians, 61% of Americans have eased up on following public health safety measures. More than a third of Canadians, more than 4 out of 10 Americans, no longer always wear a mask when they leave their homes. And that same number also fails to regularly practice social distancing. So we're just kind of taking it for granted that it's over. Now, even more frightening, a quarter of all Canadians and more than a third of Americans are buying into the belief that COVID-19 is no more dangerous than the seasonal flu. And if you don't think the seasonal flu is dangerous, look at the mortality stats on that. But you know, thinking like that and the concomitant behavior would explain why more people are getting infected. And where are these infections coming from? Well, I can only speak for Canada. It's up here. Social gatherings largely to blame. You know, events like parties, weddings, funerals, community gatherings, family reunions, all that kind of thing. You see, people are visiting with others that they know, and they feel, well, there's not much of a chance that one of my friends might be carrying the virus. They feel less threatened that one of the group may be a carrier. And this has prompted Canada's Deputy Chief Health Officer to speak out. Dr. Howard Najou says we have to pump the brakes on the acceleration of new cases. We're also told we have to reduce some of the contacts that we've had over the summer months. Now, in the summer, we can visit outside and so on, but, you know, it's getting awfully chilly up here in my part of the world, and pretty soon we're going to be spending almost all of our time indoors as the temperature drops, and with that, that means the risk of spreading the infection goes up. So, yeah, we're just not going to socialize as much or as often, maybe. The consequences, if we don't change our ways, a second wave. And with that, probably more restrictions, and we certainly don't want that. Oh, incidentally, 80% of Canadians and 60% of Americans think there will be a second wave. Many of them think we're already in it. And one final observation, nearly a quarter of Canadians, 1 out of 4, 41% of Americans thought that their governments exaggerated the threat of the pandemic and the need for health protection. Interesting findings. What do you think about these issues? While you're contemplating that, remember to take care of others, take care of yourselves. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic and other current affairs. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Michael.
I appreciate it, Thomas. I have a few questions for you. So first and foremost, you know, with the numbers that you shared with us tonight, how recent are those numbers?
Those numbers are from just this past weekend. The survey was done over a three-day period from the 11th to the 13th of this month. So, yeah, this is recent.
Oh, man. So, I mean, you know, putting you in the shoes of probably the officials or any of the medical personnel, I mean, what would you do to really put into the minds of everyone, you know, Canadians and Americans, of following these protocols so we can get through this?
I think in some cases we have to get tougher. If it's a case of large parties, large gatherings that exceed the numbers, get tougher. And the way to get their attention, hit them in the wallet. Mm-hmm. Hit them in the wallet, and if it gets expensive, it's amazing how that modifies behavior. But if educating people isn't working, enforcement is your next step. Hopefully, educating people will tend to reduce that. But a lot of it is it's pandemic fatigue. You know, we've had months, just over 6 months of having to live with these restrictions. We're getting tired of it. You know, I'm still alive. Most people I know are still alive. None of us got the disease. Well, yeah, Joe over there, he got the disease, but he recovered. So you begin to take it for granted that it's not so serious. We just have to keep up the pressure as far as education, and for the scofflaws, like I say, hit them hard financially. That gets their attention.
So were you thinking like a couple $1,000, $50?
Yeah, a couple of $1,000 for a first-time offense for hosting a large party when you know the rules. When you know the rules, it's not. None of this is any surprise to anybody. But yeah, why not?
Yeah, I think that would. I mean, I would have to agree with you that I think as far as something that drastic, I mean, my behavior would change absolutely. So we'll see what happens with that. So, you know, kind of like an off-topic question for you. I know that the wildfires are huge here on the West Coast, and I saw some reports that some of the smoke reached the East Coast. Has it reached your neck of the woods yet?
The West Coast, actually. And yeah, there's about 6 provinces close to the border, the Canada-U.S. border. Those parts of those provinces are experiencing some difficulties with smoke. Now, British Columbia, Vancouver, and Victoria, their air quality has been every bit as bad as Seattle or Portland or Tacoma. As a matter of fact, at one point, I forgot the name of the agency that rates it. At one point on Sunday, it was probably the worst in the world. It made New Delhi look like a clean air place.
Yeah, I heard that. You know, the more you breathe in, it's like an equivalent of smoking like a half pack of cigarettes a day. Well,
it is like continuously smoking for 24 or 48 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And it's bad for people that don't have filtration or air conditioning in their homes, and you got the windows open, trying to keep cool. In my part of the woods, that's not a problem. But that smoke just comes into the house and it just permeates. So yeah, definitely we're feeling the effects of the wildfires up here that way, and it's truly just tragic to look at it, and it's a variety of things. I saw your report there where some are blaming forest management, and that is part of it. Fire is a kind of a natural thing. That's what forests do. They burn.
Absolutely.
And of course, the other part is climate has changed. So you put those two factors together, and we've got the perfect storm.
Exactly. Well, you know, right now in these times, we definitely have to adapt and continue to just educate ourselves and learn, and hopefully we can get through both of these very tough situations.
Humans tend to be very adaptable.
Yeah, as history says, definitely. All right, Thomas. Well, I really appreciate the report. Excuse me. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, and you take care, Michael.
Take care. More on Hurricane Sally. Florida's Panhandle braces for its landfall. In Pensacola, Florida, Eagle News correspondent Jen Stewell reports.
The outer bands of rain from Hurricane Sally continue to pummel the coast along the Gulf of Mexico. Here in Pensacola, we have had a steady rainfall since late Monday evening as Hurricane Sally slowly moves northward towards the Gulf Coast. Sally has been creeping towards the coast at speeds as slow as 2 miles per hour, making it difficult for forecasters to predict exactly where or when Sally will make landfall. Best estimates are for late Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning near the Mississippi-Alabama state borders. Hundreds of thousands of residents along the coast have been issued voluntary evacuation orders and are being urged to leave areas prone to flooding. Sally's slow-moving speed make the threat from storm surges especially dangerous. Storm surges of 1 to 3 feet are expected as far west as Port Fourchon, Louisiana, and as far east as Chascosca, Florida. Storm surges of 2 to 4 feet are expected from Lake Pontchartrain in Louisiana to Destin, Florida. Dangerous storm surges of 4 to 7 feet may affect areas near the mouth of the Mississippi River in Louisiana and here in Pensacola, Florida, with possibly the worst affected areas just west of here around Dauphin Island, Alabama, where surges may peak as high as 9 feet. Adding to the concern, Sally is forecasted to drop as much as 2 feet of rain on some areas of the coast and inland over the next 2 days. Shortly after reaching hurricane strength, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declared a state of emergency for the Panhandle's 2 westernmost counties and issued an executive order directing state resources to help with response, recovery, and mitigation efforts in Escambia and Santa Rosa counties. We do see a potential for the storm to really slow down and stall out, and that could dump up to 25 inches of rain into those northwest Florida counties, DeSantis said. Other state governments along the coast are bracing for what weather experts are calling a potentially historic flooding event. With 5 tropical storms currently working their way across the East Coast, this is only the second time in history that this many active hurricanes have been in the Atlantic at the same time, making this season one of the most dangerous in over a decade. In Pensacola, Florida, Jim Sewell, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you so much for the report, Jim. Man, oh man, hurricanes, floods, wildfires. What's next? Anyway, coming up, updates from our correspondents in Pensacola, Florida, Fort Worth, Texas, and Las Vegas, Nevada. We will return in a moment. This is Eagle News.
Ein sonniger Tag heute hier in Berlin vor dem Bundestag. Ich bin Irene Juliet Arzadon und möchte diese Gelegenheit nutzen, um ein paar Worte mit euch zu teilen. An alle Menschen da draußen. In dieser Zeit, lasst uns nicht vergessen, den Menschen zu danken, die ihr Leben für uns opfern. Sei es die Menschen, die im Krankenhaus arbeiten, in den Altenheimen sowie in den Arztpraxen, aber auch an die Menschen, die im Lebensmittelhandel sich befinden. Die Kassierer. Manchmal reicht es aus, um ihnen ein freundliches Lächeln zu geben. Denn die Menschen, die heute am Arbeiten sind, weil sie nicht so wie einige von uns zu Hause bleiben können, die sollten wir wertschätzen. Ihnen sollten wir unseren Dank ausrichten. Darum lasst uns noch mehr zusammenhalten. Sie wertschätzen.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome back to Eagle News America. This is Michael Hudson reporting from Everett, Washington. The state of Texas sends emergency crews to help fight the wildfires in California and to help hurricane victims in Louisiana. We have Lovely Anderson in Fort Worth for the story.
Thank you, Michael, and howdy from the Lone Star State. Over the weekend, Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced that firefighters and support personnel from across Texas have been deployed to help combat the wildfires in the state of California. Approximately 190 firefighters, 50 fire trucks, and 10 command vehicles from 56 fire departments across the state of Texas. They will be deployed to California early this week, in addition to the 44 firefighters already deployed to California in late August. Governor Abbott stated Texas is ready to answer the call for help when disaster strikes, whether it's here in our own Lone Star State or across the country. I thank the brave men and women serving in our fire departments across Texas for stepping up to help Californians in need as these fires continue to burn. We now shift gears from the wildfires in California and now to the hurricanes in the Gulf Coast. On Monday, upon a request by FEMA, Governor Abbott directed the Texas Division of Emergency Management to deploy Texas A&M Task Force 1 to Louisiana as the state prepares for Tropical Storm Sally, sending a Type 1 urban search and rescue team comprised of 80 personnel, 6 boats, and 4 canines. As our friends in Louisiana prepare for Tropical Storm Sally, the state of Texas is ready to assist in response and recovery efforts, said Governor Abbott. Texas A&M Task Force 1 functions as one of the 28 federal teams under FEMA's National Urban Search and Rescue System and is one of the 2 statewide search and rescue teams under the direction of the TDEM. As Hurricane Sally slowly approaches, it is expected to make landfall on the central Gulf Coast as a Category 1 hurricane on Wednesday. The slow movement is expected to bring significant rainfall with isolated amounts up to 30 inches and a high potential for life-threatening flash flood. Extremely dangerous and life-threatening storm surge is expected from the eastern Louisiana coast to western Florida. Maximum sustained winds are near 80 miles per hour. With higher gusts, Sally is expected to be a dangerous hurricane when it comes on shore along the north central Gulf Coast. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 40 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 125 miles. The slow forward speed is likely to result in a historical rainfall event for the north central Gulf Coast. And Fort Worth, Texas, I'm Lovely Anderson. Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Michael.
Really appreciate the report, Lovely. Thank you so much. So can you tell all of us how the air quality and how it is in Texas right now?
The air quality isn't too bad here. We're actually reaching into the fall weather. The temperature here is a little bit lower than what we've been having over the summer. So the weather's nice here. We were in the high 80s today.
Wow. So there's no sign at all of any smoke or anything in the air at all? Hasn't spread to your region?
No, not at this time.
Man, lucky you. Again, man. So going back to the report, with everything going on with Texas sending these troops over to help, that kind of. I mean, are these people on kind of like the reserves, or are these like main firefighters that are being sent over, or how do you know a little bit about that process? What that entails?
From my understanding, they're helping out the firefighters that are already there, the California firefighters, because it's my understanding that they've been working nonstop around the clock, and reinforcement from other states across the country are going to California to help these firefighters to help with the wildfires out there.
Man, is very, very admirable. These people, I hear all these stories going on right now, on the West Coast. I have a lot of friends and family in Oregon that are just saying, like, these firefighters that are fighting these fires, they're literally going without any sleep, 24, 48 hours, smiles on their faces, just helping all these people. And the people around there are trying to help them out, give them water and cookies and things like that. So it's really, really inspiring just to hear, states being able to send people over to help. It really is.
I agree as well. I think it's important that even though we're going through a pandemic right now and all of that going on, we still have to band together as Americans and help each other out. And we need to help. It's a good cause for a good cause.
Definitely. So I hear that you are a big Dallas Cowboys fan.
Oh, yes, I am. The state of Texas, we are big in our footballs, our sports, and go Cowboys.
Oh, yes. Yes, and I just, I was rooting for you guys yesterday. I'm a Seahawks fan myself, but I cannot stand the Rams. But I was just crushed that they could not get the job done on Sunday. Any thoughts about that game?
Here I am a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. So win or lose, we got their backs. You can never guess the season based on the first game. So we're still keeping up the faith, and we're, like we always say, we're headed to the Super Bowl.
Wise words. I love your confidence. So,
absolutely.
So do you have any, like, in your community or with your family, do you have any, like, rituals you guys do, like, for the games? Do you guys go to a specific place for every game, or what's your typical Sunday like?
You know, a Sunday is a lot of stores here give you discount if you show your pride in the Cowboys. So here you'll see a lot of people wearing their Cowboy jerseys. They'll go to the store, you go grocery shopping, you take advantage of the discounts, and we also have a good time watching the sports on TV. The family sits together, and we're gonna have a good night. We're gonna eat and have fun watching the game.
Oh man, I love it. Well, hey, I've always been a pretty big fan of the Cowboys ever since, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders, Tony Romo. I always root for you guys besides when they play the Seahawks. But do you have a actually, no, I was going to ask you a prediction, but you did the Super Bowl, right? Are you guys going to win it or just go to the Super Bowl?
Michael, we started off on good terms, but now you're reaching. Now, okay, so first and foremost, the Seahawks. Just come on over. We can always take the bandwagon fans.
Man.
Come on over.
I would not be able to come back. No one would ever forgive me if I did that. But I will say that they are my second favorite team. I'll give you that.
Well, there you go. Texas, we're everywhere. We're the home state. There you go.
Gotcha. America's team. America's team. I love it.
America's team.
Yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate the report, Lovely. Really good to hear from you. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you next time, all right?
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Take care. Clark County School District in Nevada clarifies why over 25,000 students have been placed on roll call. In Las Vegas, Angel Quizon has the details.
Thank you, Michael. Almost 1 month into the school year, Clark County School District places over 25,000 students into their roll call. What does this mean exactly? Well, according to a recent press release, CCSD Superintendent Jesus Jara clarified information to the Board of School Trustees to attendance numbers and the students that CCSD has been trying to contact regarding technology needs. As of last week, there are 25,371 students who have not participated in the CCSD survey to assess their technology needs. So the school district cannot confirm if these students have internet connection or if they have device such as computer or Chromebook. However, the report shows that 98.73% of enrolled students have been marked as present since the start of school year. So they can only speculate that some of these students may be participating in distance education by contacting their teachers via phone or doing their assignments via paper. But again, because CCSD has no evidence of internet connectivity, these students have been placed on their roll call. Are there options available for students needing assistance with internet connectivity? CCSD is pointing families to Connecting Kids for Help. It's an organization driven by the COVID-19 Task Force, and it is said to partner with Cox Communications to provide free internet to qualified families for the entire school year. Families need to fill out an online survey to see if they're eligible or to call the Family Support Center at 888-616-2476. According to Superintendent Jesus Jara, there have been over 5,500 applications under the CARES Act funding subsidy program for internet connectivity. However, as of this report, we did not hear back from CCSD to confirm how many of those applications have actually been processed or approved. In addition to internet connectivity, here are a couple of students who have shared their thoughts about distance education.
I like to go to school in the school, not on a computer.
And why is that?
It's because you don't have to do so many stuff on the computer and it's hard to find your stuff. And when everybody's on the computer, it loads a lot.
I do not like online school because I don't get to see my classmates and my teachers in person. I also have not heard anything about my classmates being disconnected to online school because my school provides Chromebooks to their students.
As a special education teacher myself, the challenge I have encountered are with the parents who are working. Some of the students don't have anyone at home to assist them, and more difficult for the type of students we have in special education program. assistance from parent, or other adults in the family is vital to help these kids succeed in distance education. Now for a COVID statistics update. As of 12 o'clock Pacific Time on September 15, 2020, the total number of cases of COVID-19 in Las Vegas, Clark County is 62,952. And sadly, the number of deaths has now reached 1,287. In Las Vegas, Angel Quiz and Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you for the beautiful report, Angel. Really appreciate it. Now, I cannot imagine being a child and having to just learn from a computer for a whole school year. I just remember just going out there, recess being the best subject, going out there playing and interacting with other people. So hopefully this is just a short-term solution, and we'll see what happens down the road. So we will return after a moment. Reports from Glendale and Sacramento, California. That's next. Eagle News America will return shortly.
Do you want to earn a degree while you work? New Era University now offers Expanded Tertiary Education Equivalency and Accreditation Program, or ETIAP. ETIAP is an educational scheme that recognizes knowledge, skills, and prior learning obtained by individuals from non-formal and informal education experiences. It is implemented through deputized higher educational institutions like the New Era University that awards the appropriate degrees. Programs offered are the following: Master's Program, Masters of Arts in Education, major in Educational Management, Master's Program in Business Administration, Bachelor of Arts in Science, major in Political Science, Bachelor of Arts in Science, major in Mass Communication, Bachelor of Science in Education, major in Filipino, major in English, Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with majors in Human Resources Development, Marketing Management, and Financial Management. Beneficiaries must be Filipinos who have attained at least high school level of education. The program is flexible and you don't need to attend regular classes. Expanded Tertiary Education Equivalency and Accreditation Program, or ETIAP, is under the supervision of Dr. Nilo L. Rosas, the University President, and Professor Anita P. Santos, Director of ETIAP. For more information, contact the following: Cristina Moreno, 0995-138-0786, or email cvmoreno@neu.edu.ph, or Arlene Sarmiento, 0906-298-9150, or email cedctl@neu.edu.ph. What are you waiting for? Let New Era University be your partner in achieving your dreams.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Eagle News America. I'm Michael Hudson reporting from Everett. To support the UCLA Health Mobile Stroke Unit, Los Angeles funds it with an additional $1.4 million. In Glendale, Eagle News correspondent Annabelle De Mesa reports.
Thank you, Michael. Los Angeles funds additional $1.4 million to support the UCLA Health Mobile Stroke Unit in treating stroke patients and saving lives throughout the county. The Los Angeles Board of Supervisors, Janice Hahn, in District 4 stated, when it comes to a stroke, minutes matter. If this mobile stroke unit can get to a patient and treat them quickly, the person has a better chance of not only surviving, but also avoiding the debilitating brain damage a stroke can cause. With this funding, we can keep this mobile stroke unit on the road, saving lives in LA County, while Dr. May Noor and her team work to change the way we treat stroke patients forever. The UCLA Health MSU is a specialized ambulance with a built-in mobile CT scanner, point-of-care lab tests, telehealth connection with a hospital, stroke medications, and therapies. It has the majority of the equipment and care needed to provide early intervention and treatment to stroke patients before arrival at the hospital for better health outcomes and saving of lives. Launched 2 years ago in 2017, it is one of the 7 pilot programs in the United States and is the first of its kind here in California and the West Coast. This program has an end date of early next year in 2021 and has been funded by a partnership between Los Angeles County and the Arline and Henry Gluck Foundation. With this approval of the Los Angeles Board of Supervisors for additional $1.4 million of funding, the UCLA Health MSU will be able to continue to clinically operate past the end date and through the entire next year. Currently, the UCLA Health MSU is under the Arline and Henry Gluck Stroke Rescue Program. This extra funding will also give additional time for the UCLA Mobile Stroke Rescue Program to obtain approval to bill insurances, including Medicare and Medicaid, for future clinical services rendered so their own operations can be financially self-supporting. Dr. May Noor, Medical Director of the Arline and Henry Gluck Mobile Stroke Rescue Program, said, "I am endlessly grateful for the support from Supervisor Janice Hahn and the County Board of Supervisors in collaboration with LA County EMS or DHS, which have allowed for continued clinical operations of the mobile stroke unit. I remain optimistic that following completion of the demonstration period for the unit, we will one day realize the dream of an LA County fleet of MSUs to offer conclusive pre-hospital diagnosis, hyperacute life and brain-saving treatments, and precise patient hospital routing. Witnessing the determination and courage of stroke victors as they make their way to meaningful recovery drives us in the field each day." In Glendale, California, Annabelle Damasa, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you so much, Annabelle. Really appreciate the report. Quick question for you. So this sounds like a state-of-the-art ambulance, and with all the specialized equipment and services rendered inside, it must be a great amount of financial support to operate this thing. So as a pilot program, how often does the UCLA Health Mobile Stroke Unit run, and what's the routes?
The UCLA Health Mobile Stroke Unit is in service 7 days a week and rotates among the 3 geographical sites of the Los Angeles County: the western site, which includes the cities of Santa Monica and Beverly Hills; the southern site, which includes the cities of Long Beach, Cerritos, and Paramount; and the South Bay site, which includes the cities of Torrance and Gardena. Since its inception in 2017, the UCLA Health MSU has answered 632 911 telephone calls and helped bring 153 patients to hospitals while providing treatment on the way. 119 of these patients had strokes, and the early and quick treatment provided in the MSU resulted in safe lives and better health results.
Oh, great. That's great. So kind of a fun question here. So, $1.4 million is a lot of money. And that's a gracious gesture that the city is doing to fund this program. So let's just say, let's go into fantasy land for a second. So if you had $1.4 million, let's just say that the program already has that money and that you have $1.4 million. What would you do to help your community right now?
For my community, the best way to help during this time is, of course, to help provide more medical resources to those who can't afford it generally. And then when the pandemic started, it made access to these resources much harder. So if I did have that amount of money, I could definitely give more resources medical-wise to those who don't get it as easily as the majority of their peers do.
So you want to keep any of it for yourself? I mean, come on.
Maybe I'd buy a house.
Okay, all right. I mean, you can put, well, housing's a little expensive in LA, so you probably have to put like half of it towards a house. But no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's great. I mean, I think everybody, especially now, need as much help as they can get. Especially with unemployment going down, you have the wildfires, you have everything that's going on, especially in our area on the West Coast. So, any bit of help is going to, push humanity to success. So with this program, are there any other medical programs that are going on in the community right now that you know of that's maybe not like this, but something that's also helpful?
Well, one of the more important community resources that are being provided right now, especially in my area, are the cooling centers, because not everyone can afford sufficient shelter, not everyone can afford AC. So to have these locations for people who don't have as easy of an access to them is very helpful, even if they have to share these locations and they're not always accessible to everyone in the area. a little goes a long way, and any way that they can cope and deal with the events, the weather, the pandemic, anything going on would be helpful for them.
And so, are these shelters just spread all around LA County, or are they concentrated more in downtown, or where are they located? Do you know?
A lot of them can range from near the parks, of course, near where the fires are and where the fires may be a little bit more widespread. And then, of course, a lot of them may be focused on downtown, where there is more people in the streets that don't have access to shelters. So they would definitely help those who need a little bit more help than the others.
Oh, wow. That's really good to know. Well, hey, I really appreciate the report, Annabelle. Thank you so much for sharing that great information. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, Michael, and take care.
Take care. The California fires continue to spread, leading to more destruction and fatalities. In Sacramento, Bureau Chief Angel Membrere reports.
In California, this wildfire season has burned over 3.2 million acres and continues to break records, unfortunately. Over 4,200 structures have already been destroyed and 25 deaths due to these recent fires. As fires continue, more than 16,000 firefighters are on the front lines. One fire in particular, the August Complex, has now become the largest fire in California history. Let's hear an update on this fire from Daniel Berlant from the Cal Fire Information Center.
We'll go west over to the August Complex. This is one being coordinated both by the U.S. Forest Service as well as Cal Fire. Cal Fire having the western edge of this fire. You can see here is Interstate 5. Here is Red Bluff. Now, the fire did grow overnight, about 6,000 acres, bringing the total to just under 800,000 acres. The fire does remain 30% contained. And now last night, the higher humidity that we saw really aided firefighters. We saw a decrease in the overall fire activity overnight. That definitely being helpful. But this fire continuing, obviously the western edge is where the Cal Fire concern is, as this fire gets closer to a number of the communities in Mendocino. Obviously, Covelo right here, you can see very close as this fire continues to push west. A large contingent of Cal Fire and local resources here on this western zone, but the Forest Service managing the north zone as well as this eastern portion of the fire. So August Complex, again, significant as it is the #1 largest fire, not only burning right now, but really within our state's history.
Now, with weather constantly changing, Daniel Berlant goes on to discuss how weather can be a factor for these fires. Let's listen.
Now let's talk about our weather conditions. First, we'll look at our temperatures for this week. You can see that as the days go on this week, we're going to actually start to see some cooling in many areas. But by the weekend, we will see a little bit of a warming trend, but not by much. In fact, overall, the weather is going to be pretty cooperative. Now, we could see, though, some winds pick up later in the week, especially up here in the northeastern portion, all the way along down the Sierra. You can see even down in South Lake Tahoe, 30 to 35 mile an hour winds. So gusty winds. As a result, the National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning today up in the most northeastern portion of California, Tule Lake Basin, as well as the Modoc National Forest. And then later in the week, we're going to have a fire weather watch. Zooming in here, this is along the Sierra all the way down through the Tahoe Basin, down into Inyo County along the Mono Lake area. So we will see potential critical fire weather due to those gusty winds and low humidity.
For California residents who are not in current danger and may be subject to evacuations, now is the time to prepare emergency supply kits. These should be already in your vehicle or easy to access, all ready to go. And there are a number of resources online, checklists available. There is a preparedness checklist for inside the home as well as outside the home to give your home the best chance of making it through a fire. While fires are a massive issue here in the state of California, the COVID-19 pandemic is still here. As of September 15th in Sacramento, there have been 20,545 positive cases and sadly 358 deaths, bringing California's totals to 767,000 positive cases and 14,462 deaths. Our condolences go out to the families and the friends who have lost someone due to this pandemic. In a video conference hosted by Secretary Dr. Mark Galley of the California Health and Human Services Agency, he has a message on continuing to practice proper safety protocols in regard to COVID-19. Let's listen.
So how do we continue after many, many months of sending the same message without having counties and people, are people fatigue around some of these simple to follow but not always fun to follow guidelines that help us keep transmission down? So really takes into account some of the things that we've talked about here, the outdoors, the short in duration, the physically distanced 6 feet apart, not sharing different items, and wearing your face covering as much as possible. All of those things, I believe that if we do them and we do them in a high, sort of in a high percentage way, that we can really move into the coming other challenges, whether it's flu, other respiratory illnesses, the colder weather, that we'll be able to actually keep and maintain and even accelerate some of the gains that we've seen over the last many months. I will say I'm very encouraged and happy to see the improvements in these numbers in the Central Valley. They're still relatively high, but they've come down quite a bit. And even in big counties like Los Angeles and many of the Bay Area counties, I think we've seen this continued trend, which reminds me every day that we do have the tools to continue to win this war against COVID. And it's really up to us, 40 million strong, to keep putting it into practice every day.
In Sacramento, California, Angel Marbury, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Angel. Southern California residents install thank you firefighter signs along the streets to support thousands of firefighters being deployed on numerous California fires. Monrovia resident Michelle Basham says it is a good way to show appreciation as she puts up her own sign in front of her house, just a mile away from the Bobcat fire that is spreading in the Los Angeles National Forest.
We actually saw other neighbors do signs for the firefighters, and we thought this was a good way to show our appreciation. And I just know it's a lot of hard work, and can't imagine what these firefighters go through every day. I've never seen it, no, never this close to my house. So it's definitely been something kind of scary to witness, but you know, we're very grateful that we have all the help we can get, and just grateful that they're here to help fight it.
A special thanks to our firefighters. Let's give them a round of applause, as well as all the essential workers and healthcare workers as well. We appreciate you very much. That's today's Eagle News America. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Michael Hudson. We live in interesting times.